Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the entire financial system, the one you thought you could trust, is quietly collapsing from the inside out. But not because of a housing bubble, not because of reckless banks, and not even because of stock market speculation. This time, the danger is much bigger. The real bubble isn't in homes or credit, it's in money itself. For years, the media has warned you about the wrong crisis. They've been preparing you for another 2008 style collapse, a housing crash, a wave of foreclosures, or a market meltdown that makes stocks cheap again. But what's happening right now doesn't fit that pattern. It's not a deflationary crash like 2008. It's the exact opposite, an inflationary crash. A slow motion collapse of the currency's value that makes everything you need more expensive, while your savings and income lose purchasing power every single day. Most people don't see it because they're fighting the last war. They're waiting for history to repeat itself, for home prices to fall, for banks to go bankrupt, for the markets to tank. But what's coming isn't a repeat of 2008. It's something far more dangerous because when the money itself becomes the bubble, the collapse doesn't reset the system. It destroys the foundation it stands on. Let's take a step back. In 2008, when the real estate market crashed, yes, it was painful. Millions lost their homes and savings, but there was a reset. Cash was still valuable. If you had dollars, you could buy assets at rock bottom prices. You could rebuild. But now that safety net is gone. The dollar itself, the foundation of the entire global economy, is what's unstable. And that changes everything. The United States is running record-breaking deficits. The government is borrowing over $2 trillion every year just to keep things running. That means every month it has to issue new bonds, promises to pay back money that doesn't exist yet. And who's buying all that debt? Mostly the Federal Reserve, which creates money out of thin air to cover the gap. That's not growth, it's survival through debt expansion. But here's where the danger really lies. When a currency is overprinted to maintain the illusion of stability, it silently erodes trust in the entire system. The world begins to look for alternatives. Investors, institutions, and even central banks start moving their money into things that hold value: gold, real estate, commodities, and now digital assets like Bitcoin. This is what's happening right now, and most people don't even realize it. While they're sitting on the sidelines in cash, thinking they're being cautious, inflation is eating away at their wealth in slow motion. It's not obvious because prices rise gradually, but the effects compound. What you could buy with $100 2 years ago might now cost $130 or $150. That's not just inflation, that's monetary decay. If you want proof that capital is fleeing traditional money, look at the markets. The seven biggest tech companies in America, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla, Meta, Amazon, and Alphabet, now make up over a third of the entire S&P 500's value. That's historic concentration. Investors are flooding into these companies because they believe they're safer than holding cash. It's not just tech mania, it's capital flight from fiat. At the same time, gold, which was written off for years as dead money, has quietly surged close to all-time highs. Bitcoin, once dismissed as a speculative toy, has exploded in value as people seek digital scarcity in a world drowning in printed paper. Even NFTs, collectibles, and other rare assets are attracting money, not because they're rational investments, but because they represent something that fiat currency doesn't: limited supply. When the underlying money loses credibility, everything starts to behave differently. Prices that used to seem crazy start to make sense. People start valuing anything that can't be created by decree. What many call bubbles in tech or crypto might not be bubbles at all. They might be a sign of money escaping the system. And this is why the next crash will be worse than 2008. Back then, the system cracked but didn't break. The dollar remained strong, and the Federal Reserve still had room to print without destroying confidence. Today, the world is flooded with debt and printed money. The government can't afford higher interest rates, but it can't lower them without causing even more inflation. It's trapped. That's why this isn't just another financial cycle. It's a transformation. The dollar's supremacy is being challenged for the first time since World War II. BRICS nations are openly discussing trade settlements in gold and local currencies. Central banks across the globe are stockpiling gold at record levels, and digital currencies, both private and state-backed, are emerging as the next financial battleground. Meanwhile, everyday people are feeling the squeeze. The cost of living keeps rising, but wages aren't keeping up. Rent, food, healthcare, and insurance all cost more. Owning a home is becoming a dream rather than a reality for millions. Even those who saved responsibly are watching their purchasing power evaporate. This is what an inflationary crash feels like. It's not a sudden collapse, but a slow erosion that eats the middle class alive. In 2008, there was at least a second chance. Prices reset, and those with cash could rebuild. This time, there won't be a reset. Because when the money itself is the problem, everything else moves away from it, permanently. Housing won't get cheaper. Stocks won't crash to levels where you can buy the dip. The dollar won't suddenly strengthen. Instead, real assets, land, gold, commodities, Bitcoin, businesses will continue to move further out of reach. And this is the most painful truth. The people who think they're being safe by holding on to cash are actually the ones being destroyed the fastest. Their safety is an illusion. Every new dollar printed makes their savings worth less. Every government bailout, stimulus, or deficit-funded program pushes inflation higher. So what can you do about it? You can't stop what's coming, but you can prepare for it. The winners in this new era will be those who hold assets that can't be printed. Scarcity is the new security. Bitcoin represents digital scarcity, a form of money governments can't manipulate. Gold has proven itself for thousands of years as a store of value that survives every monetary collapse. Real estate, especially income-producing property, will remain valuable because people will always need a place to live. Businesses that generate cash flow will thrive because they create tangible value in an economy that's losing faith in paper promises. The key is to understand what's real and what's fake. Money that can be created endlessly isn't real wealth. It's a claim that's only good as long as the system survives. Real wealth comes from owning things that have intrinsic value: land, metals, productive businesses, and now provably scarce digital assets. Every few generations, the world goes through a monetary reset, a transition from one system to another. We've had gold-backed money, then paper-backed money, and now digital and debt-backed money. The next step will likely be a hybrid system, part physical, part digital, where currencies are revalued or replaced entirely. Those who are positioned correctly before that reset will not just survive, they'll emerge much wealthier. History tells us that in every currency collapse, the middle class is the first casualty. Their savings get wiped out, their pensions lose value, and their incomes can't keep up with inflation. The wealthy protect themselves through ownership of real assets. The poor have nothing to lose. It's the middle class that pays the price for the system's failure, but it doesn't have to be that way for you. Knowledge and preparation are your greatest tools. You don't need to be rich to protect yourself. You just need to understand the direction the system is moving and make smart, disciplined choices before the rest of the world catches on. As this crisis unfolds, remember that it's not just about survival, it's about opportunity. Every major collapse in history has created a new class of wealthy individuals who saw the shift coming and acted before everyone else. This could be your moment, the greatest wealth transfer of our lifetime. So start by asking yourself, what do I own that can't be printed? What assets will still have value when the dollar weakens further? How can I turn this global financial chaos into long-term security for my family? The answers to those questions could define the next decade of your life, because this isn't just another market cycle. It's a complete reordering of how money, value, and power work in the modern world. And those who understand it early will be the ones writing the next chapter of financial history. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel Express EconGeoFinance Insights, and comment below. A unique crisis is coming, worse than 2008. Do you see it happening too?